Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome back to Cities, Skylines, Airports. I hope you're having a good one because I am very excited about today's episode. Today's episode's a weird one because I had already recorded part 9 of the series, and I was about 5 minutes into editing this video when I had this idea. I'd been reading the comments in the past episode, and I had this idea that was like, oh, I should do that. That would be so much better than what I've just spent an hour doing. So I deleted all of that, and it's no longer going to be this episode, so we're going to do the other thing. Now, I asked a couple of questions in the comments. I asked a couple of questions in the last video. I swear I can speak. I asked a couple of questions in the last video, and you guys were kind enough to answer in the comments. That's what I was trying to say. And oh boy, there were some amazing ideas. So, basically, the first thing I want to get to is Hemlock Trail is now going to be good old Hemlock Castle, which is the former home of the Earl of Nerdinburgh, which was one of the suggestions in the comments of the last episode. I really like this weird collaboration that we have going on where, like, we're working together to build the lore of the city. I think that's really cool, and keep those ideas coming. Like, anything you come up with that could be a storyline for something that happened in the past of Nerdinburgh, I am here for it. I want to hear it. I'm reading almost every comment. I'm skipping over some of them because some of them are like, hey man, when's the new Airport CEO series coming out? Or like, hey, when are you gonna play City Skylines? I don't know. I don't know how to answer that second one, to be completely honest. But anyway, the point being, Hemlock Castle, the former home of the Earl of Nerdinburgh, is in complete disrepair, but I have gone in and added a little bit more detail here and there. You might notice we have this path going through the old cemetery, which is getting used. I've added some of these like stone archway things, and I've added a couple more tents around the place just to get people moving around the area. And I'm thinking I'm probably going to add another one just down here. Let's go for like this tent. And I'll do some trees just to blend in a little bit there, so it's not quite just sat on its own. We'll give it like a little bit of color. And you know what? Speaking of color, we already have color down here, but let's do just a little smidge of color right there as well. And there we go. That'll keep people using that path, even though this one's probably a little bit quicker. I did also decide to throw in some extra walls, and I have already gone ahead and detailed all of those as well, just because I thought it would nicely break up the area a little bit. I've done some paths that sort of snake through these forests as well, and I added another section of wall over here. And of course, I went and detailed the walls that we didn't detail in the last episode. So everything's been detailed and weathered and made to look like it's been here for a little bit. Obviously, there's still some space that I need to do some things with, but I'm not really too interested in doing that today, and I will explain why in just a moment. But first, I do want to come in here, and I want to take out some of these trees, because I want to throw in a viewing platform. I want to throw in, I'm thinking viewing deck. Viewing deck 1 doesn't have quite as big a walkway, so I think it's going to have to be viewing deck number 2. And I want to put it right about there, because I think that's kind of an amazing spot for a viewing deck, so you can kind of stand on that and look out over the river at whatever we build on the other side there. So I think that's kind of a great little spot for a viewing deck, and I just want to lower it slightly so it's actually, you know, in the ground properly. And what we'll also do is just throw a little teeny tiny section of, let's see, this guy, just right about there, so we actually have a little bit of a path going up to it, so it looks like, you know, people are actually interested in walking out to this thing. We'll also curve it ever so slightly, and we'll bring, let's see, turn off segments. We'll bring this little node up just we're not going to bring it up a little bit. Okay, that's actually totally fine. We can plant this thing as well, the way we do with everything. So we can go ahead and just throw like a little bush right there. We can throw a little bit of this just sort of here as well. Maybe do a little bit on that side too. And I guess we'll throw some color on either side as well. And I think that's okay. We could probably do with a little bit more just underneath. Oh, maybe not underneath there. That looks a little bit awful. What about this guy? No, doesn't really work either. What about a little bit further down? You know what? I'm actually okay with that. There's a tiny little bit poking through the deck of the thing, but I'm not really too stressed about that. That I'm less okay with. So let's just move that bush ever so slightly to there. And I would like to put some color in here as well. I don't hate that. I'd like to rotate it though to see if we can get the plants out of the deck. It's not really looking like I'm going to be able to though. So if we just move it this way ever so slightly, there we go. I think that looks all right. It's a little rough around the edges, but I think it looks all right. And then maybe just like a little tree there and a little tree right there and another one there. I think that's fine. Maybe this guy could go there as well. Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. So that's going to be our viewing deck. You can now look out over towards the rest of the city. We could probably throw one down here as well. And I do want to do some stuff down here that's going to look like docks. We might do some quays down here at some point as well. I'm not really too sure. But I want to do some stuff in the water eventually. Anyway, enough rambling about the castle. We spent almost the entire last episode working on this thing, and then we built this. And I've got to be honest, Park Heights, it is very generic. It is very generic, and I'm not thrilled about it. I've got to be completely honest. It's very, very generic. It's not really inspired. It's just a big grid with a bit of a curve through it. So here's what I'm thinking we do. And this is based on another little bit of lore that was thrown out in the comments on the last episode. Someone said, and I'm so sorry that I can't remember who it was, but there was a comment that was like, maybe the reason the wall is the way it is because once upon a time, this was the old town. This is like the original part of Nerdinburgh, which is why the castle is right here. And that would make sense. Because generally speaking, a castle is there and then a town would kind of come out around it. You would have the peasants living outside the walls and the farmers and the ranchers and all of that would, they'd be outside the castle. So I love that idea. I absolutely adore that idea. So I think that's what we're going to do. I think we're going to basically build an old town. And I'm not 100% sure what it's going to look like, but to do that, we're basically going to go in and we're going to get rid of all of this zoning that we put in here last time. So every bit of this is going to go away and we're going to do it again, which is not something I usually like doing. But I remember in one of the first episodes of this series, I said that part of my goal with this city was to not be afraid to go in and redo certain areas, redevelop them, update them, cut through them as necessary, and generally make them as good as they can possibly be. So that's my goal is to go in here and now obviously we're not necessarily updating this area. We're building an old town that in theory would have been here forever. But you know what I mean? It's a much better idea. It's a much cooler idea. It's a much better design than it otherwise would have been. So that's kind of what we're doing. Now, I will take out this bus stop and I will take out that bus stop because we're still going to have that castle line going and doing its thing. And oh my God, that's so many people. That's so many people. Okay. And basically what we're going to do is we're going to go in here and we're going to take out essentially all of these roads, which took me a hot minute to put together and get exactly how I wanted. But all of these guys are going away. All of these guys are going away. And before we start working on whatever the updated Park Heights is going to be, there is actually a suggestion that came in through Twitter, which, by the way, if you're not following me on Twitter, @ConflictNerd, I'm really close to like 8,000 followers on Twitter, and apparently you need like a certain amount of mentions or something to get verified on Twitter, so I think we're really far away from that, but it would be nice. If you're not following there, @ConflictNerd, it's where I update about everything going on. It's where I update to say the videos are or are not coming out in a certain day. All of that stuff over on Twitter. Anyway, I want to build a bridge here. So that's 4, 5, it should be 8 meters there. And this bridge, this bridge might be difficult given that we have a bridge right there already. This was suggested on Twitter. This is something that someone tweeted to me and was like, hey, you should try this. And I like the idea a lot. So we're going to give it a shot. And I guess what we're doing is, if my game would behave, I'm sorry about the flashing there, good Lord. If my game would behave, we'll do like a little tunnel right here as well. We'll connect those two together. We'll do like a little curved section right, I guess, here. So this guy would go something like that, and that's nicely curved around. This guy is going to sort of come over a little bit further, just to be a little bit, you know, neater looking. And you guys are all then going to be leveled to about the same height, which apparently you don't want to do. So level to about the same height, and we'll just sink them right down so that we have this tunnel that now goes underneath the highway. And I think that's fine. I think that's a good idea to have this this tunnel going underneath the highway. I think it's going to let us go ahead and get some traffic between the two areas. It's probably going to be a relatively busy road, but that's not a huge deal. And I do want to see what this would look like. I think that looks better. I also want to see, can I make the cargo roads into tunnels? Is that a thing? Ooh. Ugh. No, it isn't. Okay, well, today I learned. Let's go ahead and turn you back into that, and that's going to be fine. So obviously, in terms of the old town, this wouldn't be an old road. This would be like a new thing that was put in here, but I think that's fine. I'm also realizing, does Park Heights have, what is this policy? High-rise ban and filter industrial waste. Okay, so it doesn't actually have an old town policy. So in theory, this road is absolutely gonna be very, very busy. Gonna be a very, very busy road. And honestly, again, I'm kind of okay with that. So let's just tidy up this district and get on with turning Park Heights into an old town, which I think is honestly what we're gonna call it. I think it's just gonna be Old Town. So that's gonna be what it is. It's got those policies. It's got these bridges. It's got this tunnel. Now, what do we do with it? How do we make this look the way I want it to look? Well, I think first and foremost, I am going to remove this zoning here. Not because it's gonna be going away forever, but just so I can really see what I'm working with. And I wanna go in and I wanna tear out these pillars that I placed for this bridge because I think they look terrible. And then what I want to do is I want to turn those bridges into better looking bridges. Now, I think the European 2-lane stone bridge would look fantastic, but the spacing is a bit of a pain, and getting that perfect is going to be a bit of a nightmare. So I don't know that I want to do that. We do have the Avenue version of that, which has much better spacing. You know, a lot more room underneath there for people to get around, and I think that's fine. I don't necessarily know that I want, you know, two giant avenues coming into this space, though. I don't necessarily know that we need that. Although I guess, well, I guess this is going to be a bit of a touristy space, isn't it? So I guess we could potentially get away with something like that. Now, it does look a little bit low, but I think maybe we could get away with that. And to be completely honest, I'm going to elevate the entire thing because I have another idea. And this idea is, I'm not 100% confident about this one, but it's going to start over here with the highway. And what I'm going to need to do is I'm going to need to grab all of these highway sections, all of these nodes, and I want to flatten all of them. So all of these guys up to about that point, I want them to be that height, which I think they already were, but I just wanted to make sure. And essentially, we're going to go in here with the flattening brush, and we're going to just turn this entire thing into a completely flat area, which is going to give us room underneath those bridges to put more roads. So we're going to have these bridges, these old-looking bridges, going up and over the old town, or some of the roads in the old town, which I think is going to look really cool. And what I can also do is I can go in here with some keys. We can go in with a simple seawall, or we could go in with a slightly fancier one, which honestly, sure, let's give it a shot. Let's actually contrast them. Let's do this one, and let's do this one, and let's just see what it's going to look like. So we put them both in. We'll go ahead and, you know what? We'll go in and grab this entire section of road and flatten it out as well. I should probably just let the game run while I'm doing this. We'll flatten this entire section of road out to, say, that height right there. we'll go ahead and grab all of these nodes and we'll set them to this height, which that didn't manage to do. So let's try that again. Object height there. And this guy is the same story. This is the slightly older looking one. Let's see what it would look like and see which one's going to be better. Well, that's not quite right. Let's fix that. Or not. Okay, can I fix that? Is it gonna... Doesn't seem to want to update. That's a bit weird. That's definitely flattened out. I'm not sure why that bit doesn't want to play ball here. It really doesn't though. Okay, let's just try placing it again, I suppose. Nope, still refusing to do what I want it to do. All right. Okay, well, we can get a look anyway. So we get this one, which is nicely detailed. It has these nice big stone bricks. And we've got this one, which is much flatter. I think we're going to go with a nicely detailed one. So can I, by chance, just upgrade this? Is that going to be an option? No. All right, so all of that goes away. And what we'll do is we'll just go ahead and do something a bit like this, really. And now it's all in the right spot as well. All facing the right direction. Although we do need to get rid of that bit and, you know, bring this guy over to the bridge. I would go underneath the bridge with the key so it looks like it's a little more reinforced, but doing that is going to cause the wall to go through the road, and I just can't be bothered with all of that, so we're not really going to bother too much about it. We'll just go ahead and connect this at both ends to the roads. This bit's probably going to actually curve down and follow this road, which might look a bit weird, but I'm not super stressed about it. I think that's all right. We'll just go ahead and grab these guys and move them right up against the existing pavement. And we'll go ahead and just flatten them out to that height so it's nice and level. There we go. So that's perfect. That's exactly what we're looking for. So we want to do exactly the same thing with this entire section as well. So we'll go in, we'll grab you, we'll move you back. And if the game would play ball, that'd be great. So right about there, I think is what we're looking for. That looks good on that end. That end doesn't matter. So now we object height, and there we go. All right. So that's going to give us this, this sort of vibe that I'm looking for, which I'm going to be honest. I wonder if I turned this road into a set of bridges, would that be better? I'm almost curious because if I did, it'll get rid of that dirt down there. Now I'd have to move the keys back a little bit. But I don't mind that. I have to do the same here as well, which I don't really want to do because we would have that bit of dirt here. But if I did it across here at the very least, I mean, it's not that bad, is it? It's really not that bad. I mean, even if this bit, oh, suddenly I'm very tempted. Although then we look here and you can sort of see underneath that road. Ugh. Maybe not. Maybe that's a bit too much. Let's just keep the dirt for now. We'll worry about it later. So that's going to be our wall. That's going to be the wall that divides the castle from the old town, which I think is good because that's kind of a thing, right? The castle would probably be sort of up above the old town, so it has the vibe that we're looking for. And what is this bus line? Let's get rid of that stop. I'm not really sure what that was for. In fact, we can just move that stop down to here for the time being and see how it goes. And I guess now is the time that we actually go ahead and build the old town. So if we go ahead and search for something like market, yeah. So we have this old market street, which is quite frankly perfect for what I'm wanting to do. Now, it's a little big. It's a little chunkier than we necessarily want it to be, which does have me slightly tempted to get rid of one of these bridges. It does have me slightly tempted to get rid of this one, because if we did, I could put it right in here, right in the middle, and it would look kind of cool. But I really like the vibe of the two bridges, so we're gonna keep them for now. We'll start with some roads instead of the old market town. And I guess my thinking is we're gonna want these roads to line up with the bridge, so we'll go for there. And then what I want to try and do, should I dare to be so bold, is I want to try and get this road, well, not like that. Definitely not that, but there. Because if I do that, I mean, yeah, we can do a tiny bit of zoning along the wall. And yeah, that doesn't really look too good. But it means I can have this just go straight underneath all those bridges up to like there. I think that's going to look pretty cool. I do think I'm going to need to flatten out that terrain though. So my question, I guess, is can I, by any chance, do this? Aha! So that's what I'm kind of looking for. Now that's right against the wall. Obviously, the footpath on that far side is in the wall, which isn't really what we're looking for. But I think, to be completely honest, I'm going to allow it because it's going to give me a road right along that wall. It's right underneath the bridge. It's exactly where I want it to be. And then if I go, say, yeah, right there. Oh, this is going to be so good. This is going to be so perfect. So right to about there, we want to go like 8 units again. We'll do this. We'll sort of double the entire thing up. And now what we can do is essentially get a whole bunch of, you know what? I want this to go the other way. We can get a whole bunch of the European buildings in here, and it's going to look like an old town. Yes, it's just a big grid, but with the European buildings in here, with the bridges going over the top, I think it's going to look really great. And I guess what we do with the old Market Street is we could put it right along the highway, which I'm not a huge fan of. So maybe we leave like a gap and I can do a wall down there. So let's try that. Let's put it there. And I think that's all right. And then down this side, we could do a road. So the road's going to go to like there. And I guess the road's going to go, now let's see, what distance are we looking at right here? So I think that's, what is that, 4, 5? I think that's 5. So if I go 5 and 5, I guess that's how you're going to get into the old town, which maybe not ideal. Maybe we have a connection at this end someday as well. But for now, that's going to be the way into the old town. And I guess what we do is we go ahead and connect this end so that we have this path coming around so you can get into the old market from this end as well. And then we do walls. We do like a wall down here to block the old market from the highway. And I think that's kind of cool. I think that's kind of interesting. Definitely a little bit weird, but essentially what we would do with some grid snapping is something a bit like this. We would want to bring it back a bit. I'd want it to line up with the highway, so right to about there. And I would want it to line up, I guess, oh boy, right in the middle. How am I going to do this? Right about there, I guess, is probably the best spot. So, basically, that right there. Does it look a little bit silly? Yeah, it does a little bit, but it definitely helps to, you know, make this old town feel a little bit older because it's now like a walled kind of old town vibe. Does it make sense that this old medieval wall would perfectly follow the curvature of the highway? Not really, but we'll go with the idea that maybe the highway was, I don't know, maybe the highway was built to follow the curvature of the old medieval wall or something like that. It doesn't really matter. I like this. I like this a lot. Now, let's go ahead and put in a little bit of a path here. And let me go this way as well. Because what I want to do is extend this guy ever so slightly to about there. I'm going to grab this one as well. And I just want it to go through that archway. Obviously, no one's actually going to use that path, but it is going to make it just look like this isn't just some weird sort of dead end bit right there. So that can do that. And this guy, I guess if we turn off collisions, can go to there. And we'll bring it back just a little, oh, not you. We'll bring the path back a little bit so that it just sort of terminates at the wall. And I think that looks good. So that should let people into the old market. There's actually people going up and down already, which is absolutely beautiful. This could maybe be a little park or something back there. In fact, we've got space for a couple of buildings, so that's kind of great. Oh man, I'm actually really looking forward to this. I've got to be honest. I'm actually really looking forward to this. I'll tell you what. Let's do another section of Key. Even if it doesn't necessarily make sense, we're going to do another raised section over here. So basically, we'll turn on road guidelines. We want to go from here to there. We want to go from there to there, from this spot to there, and from you, oh boy, that's a couple of different points right there. Jesus. Let's see. Turn off guidelines, and from there to there. All right. So, well, I guess this also gets connected together too. But basically, we're going to try and have this curve and follow the entire avenue, which is going to be a bit of a nightmare. But I think doing this is going to let me just make this look even more like an old town, even more like a kind of walled old town space. It's going to have the vibe that I want it to have. I'm really enjoying this. I'm really glad that I, wasted an hour of my time building another generic part of the city when I could have been doing this the entire time. I'm really glad I'm really glad I deleted that hour of my life. Okay, so we've got the key going around the avenue. I think what I'll do is go ahead and just extend this road right into that corner just to lower some of the terrain down a little bit. And we'll also go ahead and lower that road as well. Now, what I'm thinking I could potentially do is try and raise a section of this road so it almost goes over the key and maybe connects to the avenue like here, so that this isn't the only entrance. Because I've realized I also want to extend the district down towards the highway here, and probably maybe across the road here as well. So we're gonna need more than just one way into the old town. So if I was to grab this section of road and elevate it to there, and then maybe just connect it to there. Now, obviously, there's a bit of work to be done there before it's perfect. But if we do something like that, we could potentially go ahead and elevate that into like a bridge and then put like a key underneath it so it looks supported. And then the only thing we really need to do is lower the key in the corner. Now, I think potentially the better thing to do would be, I think we're just going to want to build this up with keys. I think that's kind of the way this is going to have to be. Now, this bit here is going to be a real pain. So let's bring you back a little bit to about there. Let's elevate you to that height so it's nice and level. And let's just go ahead and bring you kind of over a little bit and just do something like that. So that should be okay. So this road is, yeah, the key tapers back. So we're going to start seeing more of this, this sidewalk, but that's all right. This guy, I think what we do is we go in, we grab ourselves another section of key. We start about there and essentially level this thing to the same height as that intersection and just do something like this. Now, there is going to be a bit of an ugly overlap, but we're going to have to deal with that with like the sections of wall there. But I think that's fine. I'm not super stressed about it. I think it kind of does the job, and we're never going to be looking this closely at it anyway, so it's not really a huge deal. And then basically just the same thing in this corner as well. So we bring this guy kind of... Actually, do we want to try and bring this guy... I guess we could bring it around, right? We could try and have this follow that same curve so that it's... Is that the right height? That's what I need that node to be that height. Ooh. Ooh, okay. You know what? That actually kind of works. I'm a little surprised that it was that easy. But that's about perfect. And then all I need to do is put a section of key underneath that road, and that is a connection to the old town that wouldn't have been there previously. Okay. That's... Wow. Okay. I'm slightly surprised that it was as easy as that, but you know, I'm not complaining. I'm just slightly surprised. And there we go. That actually looks pretty solid. I mean, yeah, again, we have these weird bits that are sort of overlapping, but we can hide those so easily with some trees. So that makes me really happy. That actually makes me really, really happy. So let me just go ahead and fix all of this this zoning here, because we are going to want some buildings kind of coming up that way and filling in some of this space. We can sort of do similar here as well, I guess. Although we probably want to just move you back a little bit because you're a little too close to the keys right there. And that looks fine. I mean, this little intersection here is going to be a nightmare, but hopefully not too much traffic up to use it. Actually, no, that's gonna that intersection would be awful. So I like that. I like that a lot. And the reason, you know, I want to change this a little bit is because essentially this is going to need to come in like this. It's going to need to connect right there. And that's going to let me build some stuff down there as well. So essentially we're going to have, you know, a tiny little intersection here, and that's going to be an absolute nightmare. That's basically why we needed a second way in and out of this district. So that's what that was all about. Now let's go ahead and do some stuff with some trees, because what I'm thinking is we're going to go for a slightly different style of tree down here. I want to go with these guys, these boreal pines, because I think a row of those along here up until about that spot might be kind of interesting. I'm not sure if it's entirely necessary to cover the entire area with trees, but I think a few of them would be kind of nice. You know, something a bit like that is different. So we'll do that. And down at this end, this is probably going to be a bunch of parking lots. So we can just put that path back in there and not worry too much about it. And I think the trees are a pretty solid shout. They fill up the space nicely. And you know what? Let's do the parking lot thing while we're here. Do I have a 2x4? Or am I going to be using a bunch of 2x2s? I think I'm going to be using a bunch of 2x2s. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. And that looks fine. It's nothing fancy, but it fills up the space. And it sort of matches what's going on at this end, which, looking at it, we might want to put some hedges down here to border these things. But again, I'm in no rush to do that. I think my priority, to be completely honest, is going to be going in and basically taking out all of the water pipes. So water pipes, all the pipes, the only pipes in the game, right? Well, I say that the pipes do carry sewage, so whatever. You know what I meant. All right. So they all need to go, and I just need to replace them with the new road layout. So these guys actually could have stayed, but you know, they got selected in the crossfire, as it were. So we'll do this. We can have you guys go to there. We'll have this guy come all the way down here and across like so. And I'm actually really looking forward to seeing what this whole setup looks like. I'm really keen to see, number one, how traffic behaves, and number two, if it just has the vibe that I'm looking for. And I'm actually thinking this could probably be a kind of cool little park or something as well. So let's go ahead and start getting some zoning in here. Wait a minute. Did I just accidentally delete an entire section of key? I think I did. Yeah. Okay. Let me deselect all of those nodes and then re-delete all those water pipes so that we have the key back. And let me also grab this guy and lower it to that height. Okay. Let's start zoning this. In fact, first, let's make sure this is the European style, and then let's start zoning it. And a lot of this is just going to be commercial. In fact, you know what I also want to do? I want to do that bit. I want to do this bit. But I want to leave like a gap in front of this little market town, because I think that would look really cool. So we're going to leave a gap there so that we can see straight from up here through the market town. And I think that's going to look awesome. And then what we'll do is some offices here. We can do some offices kind of here. We can do, I guess, a bunch of offices in this space and some commercial there. And a lot of this space can be commercial as well. And then this will be like a little park. So it's not a massively dense area, but it probably shouldn't be. And then what I can also do is throw some, oh, I'm excited about this. I'm actually really excited to get all of this in here. But what I want to do is I want to put these amusement park paths in here because I think they look absolutely fantastic. And I'm just using this little section across so I can, let's see, paths. So I can nicely select this and just connect it right to the road. And then we'll delete the little cross section. And this is going to let people kind of walk from one side to the other. I'm probably going to have to make sure to remember to get the mod for crosswalks. That's absolutely certain. But I think I think this is going to be such an improvement for this area. So let's go ahead, get rid of you, get rid of you. And I like that. We'll do the same thing down here as well, and then we'll let things build. Oh, now this makes me very, very happy. This looks exactly how I hoped it would turn out. We got the bridges cutting through the area. We got the castle up here. We got the proper little old town vibes down here. We got a tremendous amount of double-decker buses, which hopefully eventually we can do something about that. I mean, I guess we could bring the vehicle count down a little bit on some of these. I think we could maybe get away with 5 on the castle city line. And then what else we got? We got the castle airport line. Probably doesn't need 19. It could probably do with, like, I don't know, 8, right? So we'll ditch some of those buses and kind of get rid of them and see what comes about. But I am so pleased with how this area has turned out. I've also noticed I need to do a little bit of lane management here, because I want to make sure that this left lane is only going left. That's going to make it a little bit easier for traffic to kind of do what it needs to do around here. But this looks good. There is a little bit more detailing to do. Like this area right here needs a little something. And with how the keys are, oh, I can build in there. Okay, so what we'll do is just plain and simple. We'll go in. We'll throw, you know, a nice big tree. You know what might even be an idea? Is doing a little bit of fencing. So if we go and say, you know, 2 sort of that way. I reckon probably that many that way, and probably 1 more this way, something like this without a curve. So if I grab you and turn off curves, and I do this, we can probably go ahead and copy this. We can nicely sort of dump it into that space. And then if we use a little bit of move it, I can move this node to be right about there. I can move this node to be right about there. And it nicely covers those 2 roads. And all I need to do is grab that fence segment and do a little something like this. And now it nicely borders that area. So now that that's done, I mean, that's half the work really done for us. I just need to throw a tree right there, a tree right there. We'll go ahead and throw some of this stuff in there as well, just to make it look a little like there's a little bit more life going on. We'll do a little bit of color. We'll do a couple of bushes in this corner, and I think we'll throw one of these guys right in there as well, because I do absolutely love those trees. So something like that, just to fill up that little corner, and suddenly, you know, it's a little bit of detail, and it's a nice looking little section of road. So that's perfect. That's that sorted. We do have spaces like this and this to fill up. I filled up this bit already. We've got this little bit to fill. There's a lot of little tiny corners that need detail, including like these spaces here as well. But I'm not really super stressed about those right now. I think this is a much better use of that space than what we had before. So this makes me really, really happy. Even if traffic is oh boy, traffic's having some issues getting out of there, that's for sure. What if we did a little give way sign, right? So traffic can kind of just keep going as long as there's nothing else trying to get out of there. And that looks like it's helping. We might also want to say that you guys can just enter that intersection regardless of what's going on. In fact, what if everybody else kind of gave way to traffic on that road so that traffic can at least get out of there? That way, hopefully, this can all clear out. And to be completely honest, you know what we should probably do as well? We should probably go in here and change out this road for one that has grass on it. Because then, or even just that section, because then what happens is the buses pull in and traffic can still get past. And I think that's going to be pretty solid. Now, not all of the traffic's going to pass because some of the buses are going to start backing up, but in general, traffic should. Can I just delete you? Traffic can, you know, pass a little bit. Let me delete you as well. Let me, so you're not stopping. That's fine. You're not stopping. There we go. So traffic's moving again and is able to get out of there, which is lovely. So that's what we're looking for. That's what I'm looking for with this area. I think this is much, much better. It's so much better than the generic space that we had before. It has that old town vibe. And I realize that the space over here is also part of Old Town. So maybe we want to look into turning this into like an Old Town as well at some point. But This, I think, is just so much better looking than what was here before. So, you know, I apologize that I don't know when this video is going out. It's probably not. This video was supposed to go out on the 8th of February 2022. It's probably going to be the 9th, so there was probably no video on the channel yesterday. But that happens from time to time, man. I was editing the original, and I thought, you know what? I've got a much better idea, and I like to think that this has turned out much better than. I mean, you haven't seen what the original was, but you know, take my word for it. This is much better. Okay, just just trust me on that. This is much better than what the original was. So, with that in mind, I think that's gonna do us for today. Thank you very much for watching. It's been an absolute pleasure as always, and as always, I'll see you next time. Bye bye.